Welcome to Witch Weekly, your weekly dose of everything Harry Potter related. I am one of your hosts, Marissa, and as always, I am joined by my headmistress in arms, Mel B. Hi, Mel.
Hi Marissa, how are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you doing?
Did you hear
I
that?
hear your cat. I did.
Yes. So,
Does that mean you're doing well?
yes, we are lying here getting belly rubs.
Just you? Just her? Or you? Or both of you?
Well, I'm giving her belly rubs and she's lying on my stomach. So does that mean we're
So
both
both.
getting belly rubs? But
I
she's sitting
think so.
still.
I don't know then. Not sure what to tell you on that one.
Oh, I'm letting you go, Zara. I'm letting you go. You're fine. Oh, my poor baby. Right,
Yes,
she's
Mel's got a cat that she's enamored with.
she's a rescue and she needs all the love.
All the loves she can get.
And she deserves all the loves and she knows it.
She's a diva for sure. We've
Oh,
already established this.
she's such a diva. She's now lying next to me. Like, not even looking at me, but demanding pats all the same.
Of course, I understand that. So, this week we are going to discuss Pottermore.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone should know what Pottermore is by this point. If they don't, I implore them to go visit the website. It's where J.K. Rowling has a bunch of writings that she's done, and it has quizzes to find out your Hogwarts house, your Ilvermorny house, your Patronus, your wand. It's all very, very exciting. Unless
And
you thought you had all that stuff, and then you go back on there and take your Patronus test again, and when you do, instead of a dolphin, you get a squirrel.
I like squirrels.
I had a dolphin before.
Yeah. Oh,
And now
Zara,
I have
no.
a squirrel.
Sorry, Zara wants to rub up against the microphone.
That's no good. We can't do that.
She's like, but it's mine. Everything is mine.
Well, she's right about that. But yes, if anybody hasn't checked out Pottermore and you're listening to the show, you should go do that. We'll wait for you to come back
Yeah,
and
we're
rejoin
waiting.
us.
We're waiting. Waiting. I think they're
So
back.
I think they are too. It didn't take very long.
No.
I do want to ask you a question.
Oh, yes?
I'm assuming you follow J.K. Rowling on the Twitter.
Yes.
Okay, of course you do, because you've tweeted her before. I've seen them.
Yes.
Do you prefer reading things that she's put on Pottermore or learning things through her Twitter? Because she sometimes sends out tweets out her, universe of Harry Potter. Which do you prefer?
I prefer Pottermore just because I tend to miss tweets because I'm following so many people.
Okay. Yeah,
So
I can
like
understand that.
now and then, most of the tweets, the Harry Potter ones I tend to see is on Facebook where someone screenshotted it and shared it to a fan page.
Yes, that's also how I normally see them. And then I will go back and look and see if I can find the thread, because I like to go through and read people's comments on such things. I think I prefer Pottermore as well, because a lot of the things are more fleshed out than what
Yeah.
you can put on Twitter.
It's not just off the cuff, she's really thought about this.
Yeah, it's not just how she's feeling in the moment. It's actually something that she's, fleshed out and probably thought about for a while. So I'm with you on that one. I do prefer Pottermore.
Yeah.
So what we're going to talk about today is if Pottermore was really a good decision. And what I'm going to base that off of is this. It's called Death of the Author.
Yep.
And it is a theory about whether or not you should take an author's biographical information into context and look at their literary work through that. So this theory was developed by Roland Barthes, a literary critic and theorist. It argues against traditional literary criticism that incorporated the intentions and biographical context of an author and an interpretation of the text, and instead argues that writing and creator are unrelated. Basically, what it's saying is the text is its own thing, and what its author had intended for it to be does not matter.
Yeah.
You should just take the text for what it is.
Yes. So, you know, all the nuances people talk about going, oh, this is a reflection of X, Y, or Z, should be disregarded unless it's stated explicitly within the text.
Yes. The reader is the one that gets to decide what story means, not the author.
Yeah.
The author can't tell you how to interpret their story. If they don't put it explicitly, it doesn't really matter what they intended. It's what the reader gets out of it that matters.
Yeah.
J.K. Rowling has come out on Twitter in an interview saying Draco's not redeemed or Snape is not wholly a bad person. Nobody can tell you that. You get to make the determination if those are facts of a story.
So, death of an author is very much postmodernism.
Yeah, for sure. But it's saying that you get to decide what a story means, not the person that wrote it.
Yeah.
A lot of people would take what the author's life story into context and try to read the text through that prism.
Yeah.
And that's not what this is about.
Yeah. So, can I speak my personal opinion?
Sure.
My personal opinion on this is you can take whatever you like out of a story, yes. But that doesn't mean the story doesn't mean what the author intended it to mean. Does it make sense? Like, both can exist.
Yes, I understand that the author had a certain intention, but that shouldn't determine how you interpret the text.
No.
And how you relate with the text.
No. I'm saying you are entitled to do that. However, you're not exactly right either. Like, if you're to say, this story means X, Y, Z because that's how I feel, well, no, it means X, Y, Z to you. But the story actually means X, Y, Z because that's what the author wrote and intended.
Yes. There is part of this theory where it says to give a text an author and to assign a single corresponding interpretation to it is to impose a limit on that text. Which is basically what you're saying. Like, they could have meant something by this, but that doesn't mean it has to mean the same thing to you.
Yes.
It can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people.
Yep.
Every one of them is a valid interpretation.
Yes. But
you can't just say, he meant this, so that's what it means, and there's no other way to look at it.
Yeah. So I agree. Like, obviously you can interpret yourself, but what I'm saying is, in a way, there is a correct and non-correct, but they're both correct, if you get what I mean, within their own context.
Yeah, you can think something means one thing and someone else can think it means another. Both of them are right, but both of them are also wrong to the other person. Yeah. I understand that completely. Yeah. This also goes on, their political views, historical context, religion, ethnicity, psychology, or other biographical or personal attributes should not be considered when analyzing the work of an author. For example, just let me go here. Tolkien was a Christian, but that shouldn't mean that his work should be looked at as analogous to the Bible. A lot of people make that analogy. They say that, Gandalf is Jesus, for instance.
Yeah.
Or what have you. They do a lot of comparison to the Bible, but maybe he meant that, maybe he didn't. But you can't take him being Christian to mean that this is what he meant by this story. The same can be argued on the J.K. Rowling end, where these stories, there are stories of her being confronted by people about her faith or their perceived lack of faith based on her works.
Yeah.
One should not be seen as having anything to do with the other.
Yeah.
You can't judge someone based on what they've written in their works, but can you also judge their works on what is happening in their life? If it's not, if it doesn't seem to affect it, why should one have anything to do with the other?
Having said that, let's use Tolkien because he's a great example, actually. There are other parts where you can look at it and clearly see where his life has influenced his work. He was a soldier in World War I, and the Dead Marshes. Tell me you're up to the Dead Marshes. Yeah. That is
Yes.
totally... I thought you'd pass that. Yeah, that is
I got to the beginning of Return of the King, so I'm in the
Woo!
third book.
Um,
Yes.
but yeah, the Dead Marshes is totally a reflection on the trenches, where,
Mm-hmm.
you know, he's this young man and there's just dead bodies on their back and there's water and, yeah.
Yeah, but I
He...
don't think J.K. I said, sorry, I don't think Tolkien would have said this is the way you need to interpret it. You can take
not...
it for however you
Yeah.
want.
No,
It could
but...
be that yeah, I don't think he wrote it as an analogy specifically for that.
No, but you can see clearly where the war has affected him and his writing. Whether or
Yeah,
not it's an
of
analogy,
course.
there is no way you can argue that that did affect him and inspire that writing. I think it'll be a very big stretch to say, oh no, it's just coincidence. It's like, really?
I understand that completely. I totally get it. There, I just think that people need to be careful in assigning a interpretation to a text based solely on what they perceive of the author's
Oh,
life.
definitely. When I was in high school, we were studying poetry um, by this one poet, like loads and loads of it. And we actually got to meet him, and he told us about how annoyed he was at a uh, academic who published a book about his poetry and pretty much said, we can see that his mother was abusive because of all this stuff that's said in his works and he doesn't like his
Mm-hmm.
mother. And he got really offended, going, what?
I never said anything like that.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, where did I say I hated my mother? Where was she actually abusive?
Yeah, I mean that would actually argue for, against Death of the Author because they were interpreting it as meaning these things when these things didn't happen.
Yeah.
So it can go both ways, but I do think that Death of the Author would be. I don't think the person that wrote the theory of Death of the Author would be okay with Pottermore, basically, is what I'm saying. The essential meaning of a work depends on the impressions of the reader. The reader is the one taking the story into themselves, and they are the ones that are going to be affected by it. It it depends more on what they get out of it than the passions or the tastes of the writer. It says a text unity lies not in its origins, but in the destination.
Mm.
So the unity doesn't lie with the person that created it. It rests with the audience.
Yeah.
Because the audience is the one taking it into themselves and seeing what it means to them.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Well, that's kind of repeating what we've said already. That, you know, it's the reader's opinion. What I was going to go on to say is I think this whole Death of the Author is what some Harry Potter fans are subscribing to, especially at the moment, because I'm trying to be really careful how I say this.
Mm-hmm.
Because Rowling is very vocal on Twitter and
Mm-hmm.
some other things, she has said things some people don't agree with.
Yes.
Especially people who are more left leaning. And so a lot of them are coming out saying, I'm conflicted, can I still like Harry Potter when I no longer like JK? Because, you know, Johnny Depp's a great example. Loads of
Mm-hmm.
people are really upset that she's being supportive of him and letting him
Mm-hmm.
be a part of her work. And I
Yes.
think a lot of people are subscribing to Death of the Author saying, well, we'll just like Harry Potter, but we won't like JK.
And that is totally their prerogative. This is things we talked about before, separating the work from the person that created that work.
Yeah, and that's what I'm
You
saying.
can read a book by somebody that you really like, but then they come out and they're terrible, they're a terrible person. You can still like that work. It doesn't mean that you condone the actions of that person.
Yeah.
I totally understand that. It's just you need to. I mean, some people can do that. Some people can't. Some people can't be like, I some people are like, I like Johnny Depp, but I don't approve of, all the things that have gone on with him in the media, with his divorce. And some people are like, I can't watch Pirates of the Caribbean anymore because of everything that's happened with Johnny Depp in the news. So I understand both sides of that equation. I find myself sometimes unable to separate the actor from the work or the writer from the work.
Yeah.
But I try to, because I want to be able to enjoy the things I enjoy without having a moral quandary about them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. See, this is funny. I can really easily separate an actor from their work.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't separate an author from their work. I feel writing
Why is that?
Pardon?
I said, why is that?
Yeah,
You're going into it anyway, so stop.
Yeah. It's because I feel that writing is such a personal expression of who you are and what's going on inside of you and your head and your experiences, that whatever you put on that page, even like that whole death of the author thing and saying whatever they intended doesn't matter, you are still putting your heart and soul onto that page, and I feel like you get an idea of who someone is through their writing, no matter what they're writing.
Well, you're a writer too, so you would have a deeper understanding of how all that works because you've experienced that.
Yeah, I guess. But yeah, it is it's putting your soul there. But with acting, like, obviously they put their soul into their work and all that, but look at someone like Gary Oldman, who's a complete chameleon. He acts so many different roles, and that's his talent, and I don't feel like I've seen...
Writers can do that?
No, because, so with an actor, because of their acting, they are pretending to be someone else and all that, and it's for the camera and everything, but writing, you are immersing yourself in a world, and you're giving a part of yourself to your characters and your world. But I don't feel like actors really give a part of themselves up, so to speak.
I think there would be actors that would argue you on that point.
Yeah.
No, it's just I've read a lot of interviews that people, for instance, there was an actor years and years ago, his name was Heath Ledger.
I love Heath Ledger.
Yes, we all love Heath Ledger. He was doing method acting, where he would really get into the character, and he couldn't be, you had to call him the name, all that stuff. And it affected him deeply because he was putting himself into that person and then giving himself over to that.
But that's not common. I'm not saying like no actor does it, but because the guy who plays Aragorn in The Lord of the Rings, he's also a method actor. Jared Leto, who played Joker in Suicide Squad, is a method actor, to the point that they had to tell him to calm the F down.
Yeah, I think the guy that played Lincoln in whatever movie that was had to be called Mr. Lincoln or Mr. President during the duration of filming. I never saw the movie, so don't quote me on that, but I thought I heard that somewhere.
But they also say the role of the Joker is cursed. Jack Nicholson played the Joker and said he had a lot of problems, like depression and everything from it.
And Heath Ledger died of an accidental overdose, I think.
Yes, he did.
He mixed a couple of medications that weren't supposed to be mixed.
Yeah. Poor Heath Ledger. But yeah, I'm not saying like no actor does, but I'm saying, speaking in general, I feel actors, they move on from the role. Okay. And you don't usually hear an author moving on from their work. Like, whatever they've written. You don't hear them just moving on and forgetting about it. They always talk, like, in interviews and stuff about, like, old works, yada, 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 while actors tend to move on. You don't hear Brad Pitt talk about being in Thelma and Louise.
That's a pull. Look at you, pulling old stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I have not had the experience of being a writer, because I've written a couple of fan fictions, but that's about it, and they didn't really come full circle, so to speak. They kind of just dropped off. But I've been acting since I was in, primary school. So I've always... You go out there and you act, and most of the time you're able to put yourself fully out there. There are times where, for instance, a girl that I knew, she had a role where she had to make herself cry. And she was able to do it for a couple of nights, but then after that she couldn't quite get the tears out.
Yeah.
So I think you're exhausting yourself emotionally through trying to put yourself completely out there as the character that you're trying to embody. But I don't know how that kind of manifests itself on the, writer's side. Have you ever had a time where you were writing and you started bawling your eyes out? Does that happen?
It can happen. I haven't, mostly because I avoid writing heart-wrenching stuff. Which is really bad because I want to write it, but then I'm like, I won't do a good enough job.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, no, I lie. I have a fan fiction out there that I cry if I read it. Like, if I leave it alone for about a year and come back and read it, I will cry.
Is it the Aragorn one?
No. It's a Final Fantasy VII one.
Okay. I don't know anything about Final Fantasy, so I'll have to just trust you on that one.
I'll show you the movie while you're here.
Okay. Sounds good.
You probably won't get it, but it's pretty cool.
Oh, I'm sure I won't, but I'll be a good sport and I'll watch it. The last thing that I have written here about Death of the Author is the quote that the scripter, the person that writes, exists to produce but not to explain the work, and, quote, is born simultaneously with the text, is in no way equipped with being preceding or exceeding the writing, and is not the subject with the book as predicate. So basically, the work is itself, there's nothing before it or after it, basically. Yeah. The author can't go back and say, this is what I actually meant by all of this, even though I didn't put it explicitly in the writing. This is why a lot of people have a problem with her coming back and saying, by the way, Dumbledore was gay.
Yeah.
They don't like that.
Which apparently won't be shown in the movie, I've heard.
I think we talked about that briefly.
Yeah.
When we were talking about the trailer for Fantastic Beasts 2. But J.K. Rowling does use Pottermore and Twitter to explain herself and the world she created, which is totally her prerogative. If you want to go back and basically retcon everything you've done, that's on you. But is it good to have everything explained to us? Is it good to have these new pieces of information so when we go back and reread the story, it affects how we see it and how we relate to it? Do we need to know how magical items work? Or would it be better for each of us to come up with our own theory about how certain things work in the wizarding world?
I agree that it's totally JK's prerogative, but I really think it's the death of people's own creativity. Because, it's really cool. She's telling us how these magical things work. But that gets rid of the creativity of people doing it themselves. They did for years and years and years. And people could still go and do it themselves, but you've always then got now people can go, oh, but JK says.
Yeah, that is a problem. I was talking to my friend Patrick about how the sorting in Ilvermorny works. And he had this really cool idea of how it actually works. And I was like, I would like to know, but I think it's better that we all have the right to come up with our own theory of how these things work. We don't know how the sorting hat works. We don't know how the Marauders map actually works. We don't know a lot of these things, and that's probably best.
Yeah, totally.
I don't want everything explained to me, I don't think.
No, and I agree. There's another podcaster out there who refuses to acknowledge Pottermore as canon. Her co-host will go, well, on Pottermore, and she'll be like, no. Mm-hmm. Unless
Yeah.
it's in the book, it's not canon.
I totally understand that. That is a valid way to feel.
Yeah.
If you think that the books stand on their own and all the information you need to know is in those books, that is totally fine. If you don't see Dumbledore as gay because there was nothing in the books to indicate that, that's fine. You don't have to see it as that way. I do think a lot of people have a problem with J.K. Rowling coming out after the fact and, Dumbledore is gay and this is how X, Y, and Z works. I do think a lot of people have a problem with that, and that's valid. I totally understand that.
Having said that,
the writing should be able to stand on its own, and if it can't, then that's an issue for the author to figure out on their own how they can, kind of work through that. I don't know.
Yeah. Having said that, having Dumbledore gay, I don't really expect Harry to notice. Harry's like a teenage boy doing his own thing.
Yeah, that was my kind of thing. I think maybe we had talked about that, or maybe I had talked about it with another friend. Like, Harry was so oblivious to everything.
Yep.
He didn't figure out a lot. I still don't know how the Sorting Hat thought he would be good in Ravenclaw. I still don't get that.
It didn't.
He was just...
It thought he was Slytherin.
Well, it also said he had a good mind. So, it did say that. It
said,
but that's plenty of courage, I see. Not a bad mind either.
Yes, but that's not saying you should be in Ravenclaw. It's just acknowledging that you're not stupid. But he's, what's the word? He's got his blinkers on.
I understand.
He's very looking straight ahead.
Yeah, and I've seen things that talked about, would Harry have known all of these things? Probably not, because he's about as observant as a brick wall.
Yep.
Hermione could have been a crossdresser for all we know, because he really did not pay attention.
Yes. So having said that, but yeah, that's how J.K. decided to tell the story, so we only know what Harry knows.
Yeah, and what would have prompted Dumbledore to bring up that he's gay? There was no reason to.
Exactly. It's like, it's irrelevant. I'm all for having representation, but it needs to be done properly and respectfully and not tokenistically.
Yeah, why would you just... Are they going to, when they, I don't know, go back in time into, like, one of the memories and him be like, oh, by the way, I thought Tom Riddle was super cute. Like, that's... I don't know. I just don't know how it would have gotten brought up without it seeming really forced.
Exactly. And that's okay, not every
story... Like, she did put in that he liked knitting.
Knitting and flowy purple robes. No, not every story needs, what's the word I'm looking for? Overt representation. And that sounds really awful coming from a white woman. I know, I sound awful and
cis
racist.
White female. Yeah, it's...
Yeah. But I just feel, unless it can be done properly and respectfully, like, do minority groups really want tokenistic representation? I don't think they would. And until we can figure out how to do it properly, sometimes, there won't be representation.
Yeah, I've seen people of the LGBT community be like, it's really cool that Dumbledore is a gay man, but we would have liked it to be in the story.
Yeah.
Not just an afterthought. A lot of people think she did it just because, that she didn't actually ever intend for him to be gay, that she's just doing it now just to be like, hey, I know you guys are out there and here you go.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, I can't speak to any of these things. I'm coming from a place where I am a cisgender straight female, so I can't speak to any of these things about inclusion because white females, straight white females, are always included in almost everything.
Yeah.
So I understand I don't understand completely, but I want to understand that you guys want to be included. But I think it should have been done. You guys deserved better. You guys deserved to know from the get-go that Dumbledore was gay. Everyone deserved to know from the text itself that Dumbledore was gay, not an afterthought.
Yeah. Or
it deserved more.
Exactly. And that's, as a writer, like, I'm going to admit it, in one of my works, I was like, I'm going to be super representative, but then the more research I did, the more I saw frustration from minorities where they had been represented, but it hadn't been done correctly due to ignorance. And then I'm like, well, I'm never going to know. And it's, I can do what I can, but I don't have the experiences that they need because I haven't experienced them.
I mean, there are writers who will, like, bring in people from that kind of community and try to...
Yeah, but you need access.
Their brain. Yes. And it is hard to kind of get in there. And how do you broach that subject?
No idea.
No idea either. I really don't understand. I mean, I'm just saying that if J.K. Rowling wanted it to be accepted and known that Dumbledore was gay, she should have done it better and not just been like, oh, by the way, Dumbledore was gay this whole time.
Exactly.
And there was a person that when she originally came out with this that said, they said, I never saw Dumbledore as gay, and J.K. Rowling replied with, he was just, it was almost like he was just a person.
Yeah.
And
which is
like
also
that's
true.
kind of a cop-out. It's kind of a cop-out, though.
But I actually also think it is also true. Like...
Also, it is also true. I understand where she's coming from, but it just felt like a cop-out because there was nothing in the books to really show that Dumbledore was a gay man.
Yeah.
So we had no reason to think that. Even if he is, being gay is just as normal as being anything else, but it would have been nice if we had some kind of inkling, unless you want to take the liking knitting patterns as a giveaway, which doesn't do it enough for me, I don't think.
Yep. I just want to kind of move on to discuss Pottermore a little bit more,
okay.
Actually talk about Pottermore itself,
Mm-hmm.
And step away from the awkward.
I understand.
Anyways, I just want to talk about, there was an old Pottermore I've heard that was more game-like. I think you've had experience with it. I never did.
Yes, I did. When it was first launched, it was more... you go by the chapters, and there would be paintings and little mini games to play, and you would be able to find, chocolate frog cards and Bertie Bott's every flavor beans and all that kind of stuff. It was fun.
Yeah. Apparently there is some kind of thing still going on because I get emails saying it's a new school year, do these things, or there's a new story out for you to play. So I think there is still some of it in there, but I just haven't bothered looking into it.
I might have to go do that. I might have to dig deeper in. I do want to go through the Hogwarts grounds tour on Pottermore. I still haven't done that.
Yeah, I've barely done anything on Pottermore except read a few articles when I've been doing research.
Understood.
See, in some ways it's enjoyable to go and see how Rowling interprets things and yeah.
But just because she interprets it that way doesn't mean that you have to. I know you feel like the author's word is law, but I just feel like you shouldn't... a lot of people don't accept that Cursed Child is canon.
Yeah, no. Well, she didn't write it, so...
Her name is on it.
Yeah. And I'm not saying it's law. It is,
And she did tweet that it was canon.
Yeah. No, I wasn't... What I was saying... I'm going back to my original argument. You are entitled to interpret a work however you want to. However, you cannot claim that is what the work is. Only the author can. And I'm not of the school that if it's not written in the text, that it isn't this. If the author says, this story is actually a giant metaphor for my life, that is what it is. But that doesn't mean that you still can't take it and interpret it in your own way.
Yeah, I don't think there is a right and wrong with respect to criticism or interpretation of someone's work.
I'm not saying wrong, there's a right and there's a not right. I'm not saying it's wrong, it's just not right. Does that make sense?
No, but that's okay.
It does. It's not wrong, it's just not right.
Okay, Mel. It's gonna be okay. Really.
Anyway.
Yeah. I don't know how people out there feel about Pottermore and if it should be a thing. I think it goes against, like I said, Death of the Author. I don't think that people that subscribe to Death of the Author would necessarily like Pottermore.
And I know that Ilvermorny has brought on a bit of controversy because J.K. apparently, like, I'm totally ignorant. I've just seen people raging. Used Native American culture and creatures and so on without proper understanding, and people have gotten quite upset with that.
Okay. I can understand that.
Yeah. So there's also that kind of going on.
Yeah, I totally get that. I think that an author should do their due diligence when they're writing a piece. They should do their research, make sure that they're being fair and giving proper credit to the things that they're using.
Yeah. Which then also goes back to the whole thing where people are wanting to separate Rowling from her work. Because they like Harry Potter, but they don't like her and her later stuff like Pottermore.
Yeah. I understand people's gripes with the things that she's done lately and with Pottermore as a concept. I totally get that. They are totally entitled to that, and if they don't want to accept Pottermore as part of the universe, they don't have to. That is totally up to them. I respect that decision.
Yeah. But maybe we should talk a bit more in general. So, do you enjoy a good browse of Pottermore? I'll admit to enjoying a good browse of Pottermore now and then.
I love reading, so anything that I can get my hands on, really, I will dive into. I read the whole story about Ilvermorny and its founding and all of that stuff. I like reading, so I think that I would like Pottermore regardless. I love a good browse through. We've used Pottermore during a couple of our episodes.
Yeah,
so
I find it is a great resource.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed doing my quizzes and finding out what house I'm in.
Yep, and my wand and all of that. It's all very good.
I've got a wand.
What is your wand? Do you know? Do you have it pulled up?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Mel. So disappointing.
I know. I'm terrible. Terrible Harry Potter fan.
So you took the Ilvermorny quiz. Which house were you put into?
I'm a Thunderbird.
Me too! That's exciting. I had to retake all of my quizzes because the email I thought I used wasn't coming up as registered, so I had to redo everything. So thankfully I was still sorted in a Ravenclaw. It's looking kind of weird there. My wand is almost exactly the same as it was before, which is Vinewood with a phoenix feather core, 10 inches, and unyielding flexibility.
Ooh.
Very loyal. Unyielding flexibility is also the kind of flexibility that Bellatrix's wand had, but we're not going to talk about that quite yet. My Ilvermorny house before was Horned Serpent, which is the scholar, which kind of goes along with Ravenclaw, but this time it's Thunderbird. I never really saw myself as an adventurer, but Patrick did bring up that I'm going to Australia, which is kind of adventurous.
Yes.
And my Patronus before was a dolphin, and now it's a gray squirrel.
Right. So, mine, I'm obviously a Gryffindor. My Patronus is a Saint Bernard dog.
Ooh.
My wand is maple wood with phoenix feather core, 12 and 3/4 inches and
Whoa.
surprisingly swishy and flexible.
Swishy.
And
Very
yeah, and I'm a
nice.
Thunderbird.
Yeah.
So there we go.
You are adventurous, though.
Yeah.
I see you as adventurous. You go bike riding and off to places and do things, and
I get so anxious packing. I hate packing my bags to go somewhere.
but you have fun once you get there, is the point.
Yes, I do. But I don't know if I can travel anymore. I have this adorable kitty.
Oh no, yeah, what would she do if you were gone?
Oh, it should be so sad.
She's like, don't leave me.
Hey?
She wouldn't get pats if you left.
Yes, she likes her pats. She's getting some right now. And her paw is on my throat, so I'm slightly concerned about my longevity.
Is she not declawed?
No, declawing's cruel.
Okay. I don't know. I've never had a cat. My mom is allergic to them, so I don't know.
No, declawing is really cruel.
Okay.
I think it's actually legal in Australia or something.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah, because...
What about spaying and neutering your pets?
No, you need to.
Okay.
If you adopt them, so if you rescue them from a shelter, they're always spayed.
Okay.
So little Miss Zara will be having no kittens.
Oh, sad day.
I'm quite happy with that.
That's probably good.
Neither of us
You
want
don't
12. Neither of us
You don't
need
want
like
to deal
12
with having
kittens.
to give them away?
No,
Oh,
I'm
jeez.
going to keep them all. And Zara's a diva. She would hate to have to look after kittens.
Nope, you would be the one to do it.
I made these. Now feed them.
I made these, now you take care of them. That's basically how it would work out for you now.
Yeah. But it's not going to happen. No, it's not. Ow,
Three.
Zara. I got bit.
Oh no!
Like, gently, but
Okay.
enough. I swear it's her going, stop talking about me.
She knows what's going on. She's not dumb. Yeah. So, is there anything else you want to say about Pottermore or J.K. Rowling's Twitter or anything?
I think J.K. is very much entitled to her own opinions and views. Mm-hmm. And I know she's been a bit controversial lately, but I don't think she should be silenced. And I think people should still be able to enjoy Harry Potter, even if they don't like her. Like, if you don't agree with her politics, that doesn't mean you can't enjoy her books.
Yeah, I never understood people that were like, because she speaks out against political leaders of other countries. And she speaks out against, I think she was against Brexit, I'm pretty sure. She speaks out, and then people are like, I'm never going to read Harry Potter again because you feel that way. Why?
I love her response is usually, I've already got your money if you've already bought the book.
Yes, there was somebody that said that they were going to burn the books and DVDs or something. And she said, yes. I've already got your money, borrow my lighter.
Yes.
She's very good at overcoming trolls. She knows what she's doing. It's no big deal to her.
Yeah.
But, yeah, why would you deny yourself something you like just because the person that made it has a different political view than you do? I never understood that.
Yeah, neither do I. It's just people need to be able to separate those things.
Yeah. So now you know what Death of the Author is. You've learned something, and we've had a great discussion. The audience should write into us at witchweeklypodcast@gmail.com and let us know what they think about Death of the Author and if it's a good way to go about interpreting bodies of work.
Yeah.
So you guys should do that. Go for it.
Do it. Do it now.
We're going to do something a little more lighthearted. We're going to go into... We usually do random ships, but more often than not, when I'm hosting, we do a Marry, Fuck, Kill, so we are going to do that instead. There wasn't really a lot for us to narrow down with random ships, so we're going to do a general Marry, Fuck, Kill, and we are going to do the Golden Trio, Harry, Ron, and Hermione. You have to marry one, you have to have a one-night stand with one, and you have to kill one.
Okay.
So do you know what you want to do, or would you rather I go first?
I'm good to go. I am marrying Hermione
Mm-hmm.
because Hermione. Like, should
Always
be
marry
good.
Hermione is what you're saying?
Yeah, should be good company. Would chat, would read books, should like my cat. Um, I would then have a one night stand with Harry just so I could say I slept with the boy who lived. You know, bragging rights and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And that means Ron has to die. Sorry, Ron.
Oh, man. Dude, I was gonna say the exact same thing, but I'm going to change it up a little bit now that we know what's
Oh,
going
you
on
just
with
want to
you.
be different.
I do. I like to be different. I don't want to, because I feel like we usually agree on all of these. So I want to try to explore a different avenue, if you will.
Okay.
So I think what I'm going to do now that we know what you're doing is I think I would marry Ron.
Okay.
And I think I would do that because he comes from a family that is very loving and caring and nurturing, and I think that he would be a good husband.
Okay.
I feel like, he learned from watching his parents, and I feel like if you have good role models, that does help in making you a good spouse. Not necessarily you could come from a very loving family and be a terrible person, or come from a terrible family and be an awesome person. But I just think that he had a good role model couple to look up to, and I feel like that would help him to know the best way to be a good spouse. I would go on to, this is the tough one. I would go on to, I'm gonna kill, I almost want to flip a coin. I'm going to kill, I'm gonna kill Harry. Because I cannot mostly because I can't get rid of Hermione. I still need to have her around. So I'm going to have to kill Harry. I'm sorry, it's just process of elimination because I cannot kill Hermione Granger. And since I married Ron, that's where it is. And so I would, sleep with Hermione. And then we would, our post-coital discussion would probably be some kind of book or other. And I'm okay with that.
Right.
So, yes. I went a different tact and I put my brain to work, and that's what we came up with.
Good work.
I feel kind of icky now.
You're the one who wanted to play it.
I know. I should have just gone with my original, but that's fine. It's good to push yourself out of your comfort zone every once in a while.
Yep. And that's why I've got to get you to do a random ship sometime. A really bad one.
Yes. Next time we convene and I'm being the host, we will do a random ship, and I will have to come up with some terrible, terrible story to go along with the terrible, terrible ship.
Hey.
Because they're always terrible.
Yes, that's the point.
All right, guys, we're going to get out of here, and thank you so much for listening. Please write into us. I gave the email before, but I'm going to give it again, witchweeklypodcast@gmail.com. We have a Twitter that we don't update all that often, witchweeklycast. We have a Facebook page, Witch Weekly Podcast. Do we still have a Pinterest?
Yeah, technically. It's still up. I just haven't been using it.
Okay, so go on there and click around and see what you can find. We are part of Podcast Network, so we have mmPodcastNetwork.com. We have other podcasts up on the website. Go check them out, see if you're interested in any of them as we slowly start to expand. You can write into the network at mmPodcastNetwork@gmail.com. We've got a Facebook page. We've got a Tumblr that is only Mel at this point. We've got MMP Network on Twitter.
Which is updated.
Yes, that one does get used a little more than the Witch Weekly one, though we do post the podcast on Twitter. But that's not the point. So if you want to reach us individually, you can tweet me personally at RissaRu312. And Mel?
You can get me at M_A_Bickett, BICKET.
Yes, and guys, please rate and review us on iTunes. We really appreciate seeing what you guys enjoy, or rather, maybe don't enjoy on our podcast, and what we can do to make it better. So if you have suggestions, you can write into us, leave us a rating and review. We'd love 5 stars, but I've said before that I'm not going to hold it against you. Mel might, but she's probably not going to talk about that, I don't think.
I have nothing to say.
All right. Yeah, you're just going to keep silent on that fact. So, yes, please drop us a rating and review, and we can read them on the podcast. And just remember, guys, happiness can be found even in the darkest of times if one only remembers to tune in to Witch Weekly.